one thing that the band has, one thing that ties all of the material together is the fact that these are beautiful melodies. And I think that the world is starved for beautiful melodies.
بدأ عشق توماس وشوقه للموسيقى منذ نعومة أظافره.
I started playing the piano when I was 6. I grew up in Indiana. I have Caucasian parents, but they adopted 4 children from different parts of the world. I have an Iranian brother and an African-American brother and an African-American sister. I think all of that sort of experience, growing up in this multicultural family, contributed to what eventually became the band.
تخرج بتميز من جامعة هارفارد المرموقة وحاز على شهادة في الأدب والتاريخ، ولكنه أمضى معظم سنواته في الجامعة منظماً ومشاركاً في حفلات موسيقية واستعراضية.
I thought I was going to go into politics. I wanted to become mayor of Portland. And so when I graduated from college, I came back to Portland to work in politics. You know, I would go to these political fundraisers, and I always thought that the music itself was kind of, it was loud, it was not beautiful enough, and it certainly wasn't global. And so I started the band really to play at political functions.
فرقة توماس الموسيقية تألفت من 4 عازفين، أما المغنية تشاينا فوربس التي تعرف عليها في سنوات دراسته فقد انضمت إلى الفرقة بعد فترة وجيزة.
We started writing together and merging our styles.
Kind of accidentally, we decided to write a song in French, and because the melody that China had come up with sounded French to me.
And I said, okay. And then he said, look at these lyrics. And he gave me this piece of music, and it had French lyrics that fit into the melody, the rhythm perfectly. Ma chambre à la forme d'une cage.
Le soleil passe son bras par la fenêtre.
We just wrote this song, and then later, we didn't know where the lyrics came from. It didn't say who wrote them. We later found out that we were stealing them from the poet Guillaume Apollinaire, the famous French poet. And so when we went to Paris, they sued us, and they were very serious. And then at the end, they said, actually, can we get an autograph?
Je ne veux pas travailler, je ne veux pas déjeuner.
They passed a law that made the work week shorter to 35 hours instead of 40 hours. And everybody was chanting, Je ne veux pas travailler, because they didn't want to work. So it was perfect timing.
We were nominated for Song of the Year, and suddenly we were touring in France. We'd never really toured outside of Portland, Oregon, and suddenly we were in Europe. And in Europe and the Middle East suddenly, and it was nuts. You know, we never planned on that, and I never anticipated that it would go on this long. It's been 20 years since we started.
This song is about a boy who asked for my number at a party, and then he never called.
There is no categorizing Pink Martini, so it'll continue to evolve.
Hey Eugene, do you remember me?
The fact that we did my song Hey Eugene, which was a song I used to play in rock clubs in New York, and it's become a big favorite with our audience.
You know, I mean, I think all of the songs, one thing about the songs of the band is that they feel hopeful, but actually the lyrics are always almost devastating. You know, like Donde Estás Yolanda, which is such a sort of cha-cha-cha, fast number, zippy number. The text of it is like, Donde Estás Yolanda? Where are you, Yolanda? I looked for you and you weren't there. So it's like sad. Almost every song, I think, that's really great has to have this sort of tug of war between sadness and hope. And because a song that is just all happy doesn't ever feel quite right.
I had a love-hate relationship with Amado Mio in the beginning. I didn't like it at first, or I didn't feel like I could sing it right. And then it became like, it became my standard and signature song. So I totally love it now.
رغم تعدد خلفيات أعضاء الفرقة موسيقياً وإثنياً، إنما يجمعهم عشقهم للموسيقى.
I think it's eclectic because there are so many different interests among the band members. So when we were starting out, Thomas wanted to play a classical Chopin piece, but Brian knew all these Brazilian rhythms, and Derek knew Brazilian and Cuban drum patterns, and then the horn players came from classical and jazz backgrounds. And so everybody, and I came from like a folk rock pop singer background. So that just makes it inherently eclectic, I think, allowing everybody's interest to be a part of the mix. You know, so the band has lasted 20 years now, and it's nice because it's open and there's no limit to what we can do.
About 10 years ago, I discovered Abdel Halim Hafez, and was just kind of amazed at his career, and I loved so many of his songs, and whether it was Tuba, and of course Bukra Vadu.
So he found it, and he played it for me. And you know, it's sung by a man in Arabic, and I could not relate to it at first at all. I just thought, there's no way I can do that. But Thomas always tells you you can do that, even when you think you can't, and then you end up doing it, and then you realize he was right. So I did it.
To be able to perform, to sing with the National Symphony Orchestra at the Kennedy Center, Bukra Vadu, on September 11th, a song in Arabic, I think is really important. And there were all kinds of people in the audience last night. There were, you know, there was a heavy Jewish population. There are people from all parts of the Middle East, and people are clapping. That was a nice moment.
على مر السنوات تعاونت فرقة بينك مارتيني مع أبرز المغنيين والشخصيات والفرق العالمية، أمثال المغنية ستورم لارج، مذيع شبكة NPR آري شابيرو، أماندا، ميلاني، صوفيا وأوغست فون تراب، أحفاد ماريا وكابتن فون تراب الذي بني فيلم The Sound of Music على حياتهم. وعندما سألت توماس مع من يحلم بالتعاون في المستقبل، أجاب من دون تردد.
Feroz. I've been thinking lately that really it's time to do we should do an album that is definitely, you know, has multiple songs in Arabic, for example. And I think that working with somebody like, I mean, it would be an utter dream to work with Feroz. There are a couple of songs that I'm really obsessed with. One is Ya Na, which I think is beautiful. It has that Mozart. And I also love, there's on a holiday album she did called, a song called Telj Telj, which I think is so beautiful.
I like that when we perform around the world and people see us, it might dispel some of the preconceived notions they have about Americans.
So in that sense, it's not just musical, it's diplomatic.
We kind of are. I mean, we're singing in all these languages all around the world, sort of being inclusive, and it makes people feel good, it makes us feel good, and so that feels great.
The music, I think, has this broad appeal, so it appeals to people of different generations, it appeals to people who speak different languages, it appeals to really conservative people as well as really liberal people, as well as, you know, confused people. And I do feel like half of our work is really ambassadorial, as well as as well as hopefully creating beautiful songs.
Let me love you, let me kiss you.
وقبل بدء حفلته في الكندي سنتر وجه هذه الرسالة.
Through the years, we've played several times in the Middle East. We've played in Lebanon, we've played in Syria, we've played in Jordan and Bahrain, and we've always had a great time. And you know, it's our hope that music can bring people together, no matter where they are in the world, And as we get to know each other better, all of the discord will hopefully come apart.